I never thought that I would be emailing Cool Whip with the Heinz company, but today I emailed Cool Whip and I asked them if they would be interested in sponsoring one of my furniture painting videos because I often use Cool Whip bowls, leftover Cool Whip bowls to put my paint in and to mix my paint. And honestly, between you and I have been wondering lately if Cool Whip is actually a business expense when you use the empty bowl to put your paint in. I mean, I think my accountant might say probably not, but on the off chance that you can't use Cool Whip as a business write-off, maybe Cool Whip would be interested in sponsoring a video. So all that may seem a little silly. I did actually email them, but I thought I would come on here and talk to you about what it's been like 8 years of flipping furniture, selling furniture, shipping to over almost 45 states nationwide when I had started off selling in a Facebook marketplace and really was just struggling. So I started in my garage. I hear from a lot of people like, it must be really nice to have a shop that size. I'm not sure exactly how big our shop is. It's on our home property on our farm, but it's probably close to like a 30 by 60, something like that, maybe a little bigger because it has like a side garage room. But I didn't start off with this. I started off, in my garage, painting furniture on my kitchen table, like spindle chairs, painting in my backyard, pretty much what everybody does or most people do when they start off. And some of the biggest mistakes that I have made in, flipping furniture is just collecting too much furniture at one time, kind of hoarding inventory because it's so easy to go buy, and then have so much stuff you're overwhelmed. You don't even want to work on it. You have inventory that's taking up very, very precious space. So now I only get what I can work through in about 6 weeks time, maybe 6 to 8 weeks time. So, and that's considering also with custom orders coming in. Just a little quick break on that. This little dresser I picked up at an antique store and it sold. I just had painted it, just some sort of whimsical floral design on a light blue sort of French color background that was a custom color, and it sold for $1,500 and it shipped to the Upper East Coast. The customer really loved it. It shipped early summer and it had been super hot and super humid, both in her area and in my area. And all the drawers were working fine before it shipped. Because we go in and we check all the drawers and make sure everything's clean and nice as it should be before the shipper picks it up. But after she received it, she's like, reached out. She's like, I love it. It's really great. But the bottom drawer is stuck. Well, I know that humidity and like heat causes the wood to swell because it gets moisture in there. The humidity can get in the wood and cause it to swell. And so when there are sticking drawers, one of the first step to go to that I go to anyway, you can do what you want, but what I go to is I tell people to put a fan on it. Now, I've only had customers in about 7 years of shipping furniture say that this has only happened twice. But I told her to put a fan on it because that'll dry out that humidity, let the wood shrink down to where it's supposed to be. So she put a fan on it, and the next day she had it on there a little less than 24 hours. The next day she messaged me and she's like, the door is opening again. It works well. So I thought I would just share that little tidbit about this cute little antique dresser. I was kind of just, had a little bit of just a whimsical, vintage type of floral botanical design on it and just creating impressions of florals and plants and whatnot. And it just, for me, it came together just kind of super sweet. And so she really loved it. And I find that little antique dressers like this, they sell really well for me. I specialize in armoires and big wardrobe cabinets like you see in the background there. And like it's, all over my Facebook and YouTube page. But little pieces like this are also really appealing to customers because not everybody has the room for a big armoire, wardrobe, or cabinet. And these are small, just beautiful little pieces, can be used in a variety of ways. And so it may be something to consider if you're thinking about, what to do next, what to work on next. And just any sort of decorative design you put on it just helps it to make it more artistic, more unique, and it stands apart. I think when people go looking for custom furniture, they want something that stands apart. They want something with some personality and, something that they can't get at Pottery Barn or Wayfair. You're not going to find something like this in any mass-produced store or the pieces behind it or beside it. Just very unique heirloom statement pieces. And that really speaks a lot to people. That's why people are willing to, people say, some furniture flippers, like, I can't sell a dresser for $400 on Facebook Marketplace. There's no way somebody's going to buy $2,000 or $1,500 for a dresser. But they do, and they do all the time. I think my highest selling dresser has been $3,000, and I had paid $300 for it. Actually paid $300 for it and a matching chest of drawers. And so out of that, it just turned out to be a really good deal for me. But I also went through a couple of painting schemes. We went and picked it up. We brought it back. We did all the prep work on it. Just years of painting experience. And so it's okay to get paid and to make a profit on your work and your artistic skill that you have developed over hundreds and sometimes thousands and thousands of hours. And then it's okay that the customers receive, something beautiful and unique heirloom piece that expresses their personality and their style, and they love it. So it's not just, we definitely want to give the customer the very best, but also need to know your worth and your value and what you bring to the table if you have been developing and establishing yourself as a consistent producing artist. And so that's kind of a little side note. Wasn't in my planned story. This armoire right here, I named my armoires, and I named this one Ted. And this one sold for, I originally painted it green. I think I paid like $300 for this armoire, and originally painted it bright green. It didn't sell in that color, so I repainted it, and people really loved it. And a doctor in North Carolina ended up buying it, and that one sold for $3,200, which is low for me for those types of armoires, but it had some like a warp damage on the front of it, so hence the reduced price. This is the current armoire that I'm working on, just absolutely gorgeous, very, very lovely customer, and she had sort of referenced a previous one that I did and said, something similar to that. So she's loving the way it's coming out, and it is wrapping up, and I can't wait to ship it to her, who is also on the East Coast. But going back to being a furniture artist, and one of the things I would not do is hoard a bunch of inventory. It's easy to buy, but then you're sitting on a lot of stuff that's taking space. That is probably the number 2 thing that I wouldn't do. The number 1 thing that I would not do as a furniture artist, whether you're a seasoned one or you're just starting out, is I would not consume hours and hours and hours and hours of information on how to paint, how to sell, how to do social media, how to do all of that, because it will paralyze you. It is overwhelming. There is so much information. And what it does is it is so easy to get in the habit of whatever you're trying to learn to do and just consuming online content and not getting out there and getting busy. At the end of the day, this is, if you're doing it for a business, or if you're even just want to beautify your home, paint your own furniture, like, we have to stop learning and go put what we have into practice, what we have learned. Yes, get some basics down, but let me give you some basics right now. I hear when you get your furniture, clean it really well. Clean it 2 or 3 times with a degreaser or something, and then scuff sand it really well. Clean it again, and then use a furniture cabinet paint like Rethunk Junk. You can choose another one if you want. That is my go-to paint. Or you can use a chalk paint and then put on the top coat that, it recommends to put on. I mean, just that simple. I love for top coats, I really like using White House Salve. And then I also like using, what is it? Polyacrylic. Sorry, this armoire here came from Trump Towers. The customer contacted me and said, can I send you my armoire? And I said, by all means. So we arranged shipping. Ended up costing her a total of $3,000 both ways to ship me her armoire. She had actually told me it's like $700, but it was not at all. The shipper's like, no, she paid $3,000 both ways. It was, it was a New York shipper. He had a team. There was two of them. This is a kind of somewhat of a knockdown armoire. They did all of the work. He had to have a $3 million COI, which insurance policy, to be able to even get any type of furniture into Trump Towers. And so it's not the average furniture moving, cost by any means. Things like this, normally I pay $800 to ship something like this. And so, but he also had a truck, he had help, and he had a truck with a gate, electronic gate that goes up and down. And so this was the finished product, finished, y'all know the word I'm trying to say, right? The finished, product. So it ended up being gold and silver on this gray with some distressing and black wax. And then I called the people, her shippers, and they came back and picked it up. This portion of the video is from a reel that I'm repurposing, from a reel from the past that I'm repurposing to put in here. It's why you kind of see the words on it and stuff. I downloaded it from Facebook because that is the only place I could find it stored, just to show you the shippers and how they had it packed. And again, shipping something like this across the country, which I'm in Missouri, so the farthest away it can go for me is, Florida or Upper East Coast or, Washington State, someplace like that. And usually it will cost me anywhere from $700 to $900. On average, I probably pay $750 to $800. And this, when we ship, we'll either have it packed or the shipper will come and pack it. And this was so nice for these white glove shippers because they had a team of two. They also had a lift gate, made it really, really nice. But again, they're from New York City. They're delivering to very, very high-end, some of the most high-end buildings in the country. They have to have a COI of $3 million. And so their price was just astronomical compared to most shippers. But that's the realm that they operate in. Most private, shippers like the one I typically use, he is a retired military. He's a veteran. He does a great job. He ships for furniture artists all over the United States. And I've also used UShip on a regular basis. And I've had very, very good experiences through UShip. But at the end of the day, for the biggest tip that I have for furniture artists and flippers is to not take in so much information that you feel overwhelmed. Like we can learn, scroll through all the content and never get busy creating. And in the process of all that learning, it's so easy to begin ordering a ton of supplies, really spending money, but not making money and not showing up to do the work. So that is the top two biggest lessons that I have learned in my 8 years of flipping furniture is do not accumulate so much that furniture that it takes up all of your space. You are sitting on a lot of money in inventory and it makes it hard to work around, and it's also overwhelming. And then the number one thing is don't just watch so many tutorials and videos and ideas and inspirations and all of this and how to do all this stuff, but you never show up for work on a very consistent, regular work schedule. Like you have to show up and get it done. Those are the people, like when it comes to entrepreneurship, the number one thing, it's not how talented you are, how skilled you are, but it's somebody who has the ability to get things done. And that's what your customers are going to look for with everything. That's what's going to develop your skill and your talent, is showing up to work to get it done. So that is, we like to overcomplicate things and think we need some magic formula, but just being there, being consistent, doing the work, and really experimenting and trying out and finding your style. And I say paint what you're drawn to. People send me messages and stuff all the time, like, how should I paint this? Well, I'm not you, paint, and I really don't have the time to answer all those questions. I get hundreds of them a month. It's just paint what you're drawn to, paint what you love, because if you love it, somebody else is going to love it too. I hope this video was helpful for you. I'd love to know what type of other content you'd like to hear. And please leave your questions in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them. I also answer questions for, on very one-on-one basis for subscribers on Facebook. It's very inexpensive. So like and subscribe, and we will be talking soon.